What you see online is completely different to what it is in reality.
Honest conversation. We had to decide on a region. We didn't want to travel all throughout. Malaysia is such an underrated country. Thailand, we didn't travel as much as Malaysia. We're Nabeel and Zenesta, and together with our 4-year-old daughter, in July 2023, we packed up our whole lives in Australia to start a adult gap year. We're almost halfway through our gap year.
And in this particular video, we're going to divide it into 3 different sections. So first, we're going to talk about what we have been doing for the past 6 months, and then we're going to talk about the honest opinion, the good, the bad, the ugly about this whole full-time travel with a child. And lastly, we are going to talk about what's next.
All right, so let's get started. Even though our life in Australia was great, we lived there for 15 years after migrating from Bangladesh. We had a great friend circle. We had a nice house in the suburb. We actually had pretty good jobs, but we knew that we wanted something different in life. We wanted to have a life of freedom where we were able to choose where we work from, when we work, and basically make money online. Our problem in Australia was that with the daily lives that we had and the expenses of living in a city like Sydney made it really difficult to focus on a side gig like this. So we designed a gap year which would allow us the time to focus on this online venture, but at the same time have an added bonus of visiting and traveling to all these amazing countries. The whole premise behind what we're doing at the moment is on Geo Arbitrage, or in other words, currency hacking. So you use, the Australian dollars that we have generated over a period of time of working in different jobs and utilize this in other countries where your currency takes you a long way. So for us, we knew that we had to decide on a region because we didn't want to travel like all throughout the world. So we chose Southeast Asia, and we also wanted to slow travel. For us, we want to base ourselves somewhere for as long as the visa allows us, and then travel within that country. So we set ourselves in Kuala Lumpur. It's such an amazing city, and when we were in Malaysia, we were able to actually travel to quite a lot of places in Malaysia. We've been to Putrajaya, we've been to Ipoh,
Malacca, Cameron Highlands, Penang.
Penang as well. So, and obviously, we traveled a lot within Kuala Lumpur as well. So overall, we just feel like Malaysia is such an underrated country. It's such a great value for money.
We've done a video about why Malaysia is such an underrated country. I'll link it up here, which actually did pretty well in our whole YouTube space. So you can go and watch that. So after Malaysia, we decided to go to Thailand.
In Thailand, we based ourselves in Bangkok. We visited a few places in Thailand. We went to the north in Chiang Mai, which was an amazing place. And then we also went down south to Phuket and visited the Phi Phi Islands as well. In Thailand, we didn't travel as much as Malaysia, mainly because of 2 reasons. One is obviously we didn't stay for as long, but B, we found Thailand to be way more expensive than it was in Malaysia, because Malaysia was such value for money, but in Thailand it's still obviously way cheaper than say a Western country, but it's not as cheap as some of the videos we've seen on YouTube saying come to Thailand, it's so cheap, etc. So it wasn't that cheap.
So we decided to go to our home country, the place that we've been born, in Bangladesh. This is one of our dream come true, because whenever we were in Australia, we always used to go back to Bangladesh for maybe 2 weeks, meet everyone, meet all the people. Such a rushed journey. We made a point that we will go to Bangladesh and stay there for a much more longer period of time. To Bangladesh at the most prime time that we can go to Bangladesh for 1 month in December, and it was very, very heartwarming experience because we had all our friends and family visiting around that point of time.
That basically makes our 6 months. After Bangladesh, we actually came to Vietnam. So we are in Vietnam at the moment. We're here for 3 months. Having done this, it's been so great because we've been pretty much spending approximately 35-40% of what we used to spend in Australia, meaning that our money is going a longer way, which is just amazing. Before it was just a theory, but we have actually lived it. So that's been great.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about what is the budget, when we started this gap year, we have planned that for every month we would have a budget of 4,000 Australian dollar to spend. So we've pretty much stayed around that mark. Maybe we can share that with you in a different video.
The other thing obviously is you experiencing all these different countries, right? Because your mind actually expands. People talk about travel makes you a lot more open and things like that. All of those are actually true. You get to meet people from different cultures, try different foods. You even meet a lot of international people as well. It's been so great because before you're very much in a bubble and you feel like whatever that bubble is, it's cozy, it's great. it's the best. When you put yourself outside that situation, like, through travels, you get to see so many other people doing all these amazing things.
We've met so many people who worked in so many different kind of fields that I've never heard about. Completely opened my eyes, and I was like thinking, really?
You can make money like that?
Yeah, really, you can do that? The growth that we have seen in our daughter,
Yeah.
like immense growth. Because while deciding to do this full-time travel, we have to manage Yara too, and we have decided that while traveling, we're gonna put Yara in international preschools in whichever country we go. Because we're staying for 2 months, 3 months, it is possible to find preschools, and we have found preschools. She went to preschool in Malaysia, in Thailand, and now she's also going in Vietnam. The sort of interaction that she's getting there from the teachers, from the surrounding people, making friends with people like kids of her own age,
From different nationalities.
different nationality. I've seen her eating habits improved. She's just become so independent. Like, she doesn't seem like a 4-year-old kid to me. She seems like much more older.
And one of the things I want to add to that is that we felt very strongly about putting her in an international daycare, but at the same time, we were quite confused as well. Unsure, I would say unsure, because we'd seen other people put their kids through homeschooling or even like manage them through a nanny. For us, even though we knew that the amount of money we had to spend was like quite a lot.
Mind you,
It's very
we are
expensive.
spending a bit of money
Yeah.
for this international preschool. We have accounted for that for the budgeting of our
Yeah.
gap year.
And the last thing that we wanted to share with you is on the business side of things, right? So we have been focusing mainly on YouTube, doing long form content. We've been
Yes.
posting twice a week for the last 6 months.
You've been in customer service. I have been in banking. We have never done a video. We've never spoken to camera. We have no idea about social media other than posting our own photos on Instagram for our friends and family. So documenting this journey in YouTube, learning social media, learning how to do thumbnails, videos, titles, keywords, what works, what doesn't work, algorithm thing, and it was such a steep learning curve. One of the things that we thought while doing this gap year is we are going to upskill ourselves into other areas.
With YouTube, we've actually quite happy with what we've done. Like, obviously, anything can be better. In the first 3 months of starting our gap year and documenting videos, we have reached YouTube's monetization requirement. The fact that we have reached that quickly, we are on the right track. The other thing is that we have done 3 major collaborations, which has been worth around 5,000 Australian dollars. That was an amazing experience because we weren't sure whether, with such a small following, would we get anything. And that was one of the biggest learnings we had, is like, if you don't ask, you never get.
What you see online is completely different to what it is in reality. We were very inspired by a lot of traveling family, couples, solo people traveling. We also wanted to go to all these different places, experience this, document it, but this is such a hard thing, like
The planning,
the
logistics.
logistics and everything.
Sometimes you see those videos and photos with people with a coconut and a laptop looking towards a beach.
It's not that.
It's-
We have not
we
been
have
able,
not been able to
we
do
have
that
not
yet.
been able to do that. We've been to beaches, we've been to cafes, but we were not able to do that, like sit and work and enjoy.
Probably because,
I don't
there's
know.
such a big learning curve for us. Like,
Yes.
always like trying to figure stuff out. And
Yeah. What other people are doing is not necessarily is something that you would want to do, and that's what I found out personally is here, that sometimes it's just good to look at other people, what they're doing, but when you try to replicate that in your life, it's not necessarily what you want. And it's the same case, like you've seen someone traveling in some place and that's their style of traveling, they're very adventurous.
when you're full-time traveling, it's a lot of decisions constantly, and that can get really, really stressful very quickly. Even though we are slow traveling, even within that, every 2 to 3 months, basically uprooting yourself again and traveling to a new country, finding the best flight deals, finding accommodation, finding an international preschool, a gym, finding co-working spaces, finding places to visit, all of these things, like, layer by layer, it just
It's
adds
like
up.
doing the whole thing all over again every 2-3 months.
Fast travel sometimes takes the fun out of it, and even what slow travel is, it really depends on you, like how much slow travel do you want. So, and I think, like, moving forward, we're slowly trying to find our happy space.
You feel quite lonely. You are in a place where you don't know anyone, you're trying to find your footing, you just miss your family and your friends back home, so the loneliness can take over.
It is hard, but that's what we're trying to sort of remain busy as much as we can, but also go outside of our comfort zone to try to meet new people.
Like, we don't need to build thousands and hundreds of connections. All you need is 1 or 2, 3, 4 connections, and really nurture them for the rest of your life.
All right, so what's next?
We have another 1 month to stay here in Vietnam. We are moving on to another country in Southeast Asia.
Basically, trying to figure out whether we go to Philippines or Indonesia. So we'll let you know where we eventually end up, but it will probably be one of these two.
And after that, we actually complete our whole 1 gap year.
It's kind of crazy how fast time has flown. The most important thing is that what do we do post gap year?
We'll leave it for another video.
First 6 months, we've really focused on YouTube, and the next 6 months, we have been focusing a lot on the short form content, trying to understand how to make them, how to get better at them. So we've been focusing a lot on YouTube Shorts as well as Instagram.
So if you don't know already, you can follow us. I'll put a link. We are active, very active in Instagram, so you can follow us on Instagram, and we are also very active in TikTok.
The other thing we want to talk about this channel and the future, we are sort of pivoting slightly. So far, we've been doing a lot of travel vlogs, freestyle travel vlogs, but what we've realized is that that is something that we would like to do less of, and instead do more information based content. Information around traveling, where to travel, what to do during these travels, but also how you can actually create a gap year for yourself, and what are some of the things that we do when we are traveling.
While doing this traveling, we've had a lot of people in YouTube, in Instagram, and also friends and families and acquaintances and the new people that we have met. They always ask about how are we doing this, because coming from a South Asian background, an immigrant background, not very common at all. What we have done is we basically created a comprehensive guide about what steps we have taken in terms of how we packed up our life in Australia,
how we saved.
Exactly, and the finances and how we did the planning. You can go in the description and you can download that from there.
So this guide is comprehensive, but it's not absolute details about every single thing. It's more around giving you a flavor of what is required and what is possible. Hopefully you can get some value out of that. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. The next video that we'll be doing is extension of this video, where we will talk in details about the expenses that we've incurred over the last 6 months. And I think you will be surprised to see it doesn't cost as much as a lot of people think to actually do an adult gap year.
And in the meantime, please do subscribe.
Thank you so much and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.